to the tracks for the live album. Dustin and AFM sent them to me, and what I like about the this live release is it actually captures so much about what you guys are about over those 20 years. I mean, the recording's fantastic. Um,
Thank you.
and the set list, 20 songs, 2 CDs. When you go back, how do you guys come up with what songs you want to put on this? I mean, because there's so many great albums, great songs. What went into that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always tough picking a set list, especially after like 9 albums. Um, you're not gonna be able to please everybody, but we try our best. We just basically try to do a best of in a way. We always see like what are our most popular songs on Spotify and things like that, or the most popular songs from each album. And then again, we have a new singer, relatively new singer, Herbie. And I want to make sure that we play stuff that fits his vocal range too, because the guy has to cover material also from 3 or 4 previous singers before him. So
Right.
not everything is going to be right up his alley. So, I mean, I think we're at a point where we've ironed out the set list pretty well, and we wanted to cover also material that we wrote with Herbie on the last album too. So it was a little bit of a mixed bag. We played it like a best of from all our catalog, plus quite a few songs from the last recording, the last album.
It is a great set list, and I was actually going to ask you about Herbie because he's an awesome singer. I mean, I think he fits the band really well, and the things that he covers from you guys for the last 20 years is fantastic. What's it like working with him, because he's different from the other guys, but he also just has a lot of elements in fitting in the style of Firewind.
I agree. Yeah, like when I first heard him sing, and when they first suggested Herbie to me, and I heard him sing, I was like, wow, this is the guy. Like, when you have that feeling, like you hear somebody, and you're like, this is the guy that we should have as a singer. His voice reminded me heavily of our very first singer on the first 2 albums, Stephen Frederick. I don't know if you've heard any of those albums, but his
Right,
voice,
great albums.
yeah, yeah, his voice reminded me a lot of that kind of, he has that raspiness in his voice. And then again, of course, he has his own style and he brings his own vibe to it. And the good thing is that he can write songs too. So that it's nice for me to have somebody to collaborate and exchange ideas. Because I'm used to writing, like I'm used to this old school writing of I write the music and then I have some ideas for titles or something, but I like to feed off the singer, and so we go back and forth and we write stuff together as well. And he's very easygoing guy to work with. Actually, we really, yeah, there's been no problems whatsoever.
I know you guys you're working on a new one now and everything. And I can't wait to hear that. But
Yeah, we just finished it up actually.
oh, awesome, awesome. Everybody's gonna be excited about that for sure.
Yeah, we are excited. I think. I mean, for us, it's like album number 10, and yeah, it took us a little bit longer to make this album, but we're proud of it. I can't wait to put it out there so people can check it out.
I can't wait to hear it. I mean, just this live one feeding off of what you guys have done in the past and all the way up till now. I think it's going to be a lot of excitement happening soon.
Yeah, man.
I've been wanting to ask you in the last interview I had with you, like I said, was so long ago. Is when you write a song, a Firewind song, I know you said a little bit about it. You put the music together and everything. But what's some of the elements that you look for? I mean, you have so much of a great style. It's power metal. It's melodic hard rock. What is it like, for you as Gus G to write a song? What's some of the elements that you look for when you start out?
I don't really look for anything specific, to be honest. It's not like I set out to make something specific. Everything comes from improvising and just jamming guitar, like right here in my couch in my studio. So I just
Nice.
play guitar, and maybe something will come to me and that I'll be like, oh, this is nice. I don't know, it's a cool riff. And that could be like a melodic line, or it could be like something really heavy. It depends. Um, So what I do is I just when I first start writing, I just put down ideas as I get them, as they come to me, and then I just make quick demos. And then later on at the second phase, I go and sort out all the demos in these folders that I have in my computer, and then I sort of and then I sort of pick out like, okay, we probably will need a song like this and a song like that, like a faster one or a slow one. And then I start thinking a bit more like how to put together an album. Like I try to see the bigger picture, like you need to have songs in different keys and things like that. So you make sure you
Right.
have variety and dynamics within the album. But originally when I write songs, I don't really look for something. I don't set out to be like, oh, I'm gonna write like a fast song now, or I don't I don't do it like that.
You just have a technique, whatever comes to you, the feelings, and that's what you drop in.
Yeah, I mean, I just try to have let that thing flow as naturally as possible, and then I'll start thinking about proper construction.
Right. How do you feel like, you just talked about, how you put a song together and everything. Do you feel like it's easier, now after, after doing it for so long to write, or is it just something that just, hey, it just comes naturally? Tough question.
Mm.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's some songs. I think anybody that writes songs will tell you that some songs write themselves, meaning that it just you'll pick up a guitar, you'll make like 4 or 5 riffs, you'll put them together, and within 10 minutes you have it for some strange reason. And then some
Right.
other songs take forever. You just don't have the chorus, or you don't have, or you're missing a verse. You have like a great chorus idea, and it takes months and months, and you go back to the listening to the demo, and it's just not there yet.
Right.
And I think that never goes away, really. No matter how experienced you are or how many songs you wrote. At least for me, I don't know. I still get like writer's block sometimes, and then again, there's many times that I feel inspired, and then I get in the zone, and I just, the riffs keep flowing out of me, and I just finish songs quickly. It really depends.
That's always cool. Yeah. That's why I like to, when I listen to an album as a fan, that's why I asked a lot of questions like, how do you guys write it? How to come up? Because I look at it differently. I listen differently, and
Yeah.
and that's why I love hearing how you do things like that. You know, I'm going to talk about how you got started. I,
Okay.
back in the, in the early days, like when you were a kid, what were some of the things that inspired you? I mean, I read some of the things, obviously Wikipedia, about your dad and how he inspired you a little bit. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, my father had a few vinyls at home, mainly Greek music, but he had a couple of vinyls that he brought from America when he visited my uncle in the States. And some of the rock
It's
vinyls
cool.
were like Eagles, Hotel California. It was Frampton Comes Alive. It was Queen. So there was like 3 or 4 rock vinyls at home, and I remember like being attracted to that sound rather than the Greek folk music as a kid. And I remember when I heard like Peter Frampton doing the talk box guitar, being fascinated with it. And I
Right.
think that's what kind of like sparked the idea of me playing guitar. Yeah.
That's cool to hear. Starting out, do you feel like you carried a lot of that, with you now, that style? Because those classic albums are, I mean, those they're just so iconic. Do you feel like you still bring that style to what you do now?
I don't know, man. I think anything that we listen to and that we're influenced by, somehow it translates. It's subconsciously in the mind, and some of these ideas come out. It's hard to say really what goes where, but all these influences, they live within us. All these things that
Right.
we have. It's what we call having a style. When you
That's right.
dissect somebody's style, you probably can figure out a lot of things, because it's never somebody's personal style is never like one thing. It's probably different influences throughout his life.
Right.
So so yeah, I think my guitar style is probably comprised of many guitar players, from anything from Eagles and Pink Floyd and Jimi Hendrix to Tony Iommi and heavy metal stuff and shredders of the 80s. And so it's just like one big mixed bag.
That's cool to hear. And to me, as a fan, listening for so long, you know, I don't know how you look at it, but I feel like, hey, this guy is really, when you say the name Gus G, people know, hey, this guy's one of the great guitar players, of the last, 10 years, 20 years. How do you feel now, that you've been doing this so long, and how do you feel about yourself as a guitar player? Because I definitely put you up in the tops right now, man. Just the way that you've done things for
Wow.
so long, and the style that you play, so much, feeling in it, and it's different.
Yeah. Well, thanks. I can't say that I see myself the way that you describe me. it's, it's not like it's not like I
It's
wake
tough,
up
yeah.
every morning and go like, well, I'm one of the top 10 greatest of the
That's
last
it.
20 years. I I don't look at myself like that. I just do what I do, but it's always nice. It's a very nice compliment when when people tell you that, okay, your work has such and such value, and people feel like you know it means something. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm very proud of all the stuff that I've accomplished musically.
Right.
I'm happy. Like if I look back, because I think it's about like when you look back as an artist, you don't want to have something that you don't want to have done something that you're ashamed of later in life. And
Right. Right.
I can happily say that I'm not ashamed of any of the material that I've put out in the past, or I haven't done anything that I'm really not proud of. Of course, I've made some of my albums are better than others collectively, but for me, it's like I'm happy with the body of work that I've produced. I know that I've done my best over the years, and yeah, if it means something to some people, that's a very cool bonus. And yeah, I mean, of course, and I still feel very creative. To be honest, I feel way more creative now than I did 10 years ago. So I
That's cool.
yeah, so I think my writing and my playing gets better and better. So I think I'm in a good spot right now, personally. Yeah.
That's always good to hear. I've been listening to you. The first time I heard you was on Dream Evil in the Book of Heavy Metal, and
Oh wow. Okay.
that's a great album. And you have that extensive catalog. We talk about the Firewind and 20 years of Firewind and all those albums, but you play with some really great bands. Dream Evil, Mystic Prophecy. Guys like that. Tell us about some of that, about some of those earlier days and some of those bands. Man, what was that like for you as an up and coming musician?
Well, but the early days was just like me trying to play and write with whoever wanted to write with me and have me in a band. Like if I would have an offer to join some band, I did it,
Right,
because
right.
those were bands that I was involved in from the like the early days, and they were not signed. We were just demo projects with different people.
Right.
And it was just like guys that were older than me at the time that gave me a chance to be in a band. And I was very young. I was like 19 or 20 years old when I started Mystic Prophecy and Dream Evil. So to me, I looked at it as like a learning experience. Like just try to get more studio sessions done, write with more people, just broaden my musical horizons. And you know, at some point, like down the line, like a couple of years later, after doing demos with these guys, with those bands, all my projects were kind of offered record deals. So I think
Nice.
there was a time around 2002 or 2003 where I was just putting out albums that I had been working on for the past 5 years, but all these albums kept coming out in the market, and I was on it. And
Right. That's
I
great.
started making, I started making, I remember started like making a name very quickly. Um, like every month I was in the magazines, whether it was with Dream Evil or Firewind or Mystic Prophecy or whatever. And
Right.
so quickly at that time, people started talking about my playing, and those bands were getting good reviews. And so it was an exciting time. I was very excited. I was very young. And I mean, I wanted to keep doing everything at that time as long as I could until we started touring. And then, of course, when all these bands start touring, you have to kind of pick. You have to make your choice what you want to do.
Right. That's a lot of work. That's a body of work, and like you said, it all hit at that same time, which was pretty cool to hear. How about now?
Yeah,
You I know you get asked this all the time. You were handpicked by Ozzy,
yeah.
to join that band and the Scream album and everything. And it was kind of a launching pad for you. But what? Tell us about that situation. That was it was kind of like a one-off album, and but it seemed like it was something that really it brought the spotlight to you as a guitar player, but it seemed like it really elevated you in everything that you did outside of Ozzy. Tell us about that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, like the guitar player position in Ozzy's band has always been kind of like the holy grail of heavy metal, being a metal guitarist. So,
Right.
it doesn't matter if you're in that band, you're standing on stage with him just for a few gigs or for a few years, you become instantly like one of those guys in that list.
That's right.
So in a sense, it kind of makes sense, like all the spotlight that came with it. I mean, I knew there was a lot of that kind of stuff was going to follow, a lot of attention from media and, all the endorsements and all that stuff, and the press and all that stuff that goes with it. So yeah. I mean, I was, it was a lot of big things were happening at the same time. It was kind of hard to digest everything at the and process everything, if you
Right. I
like,
could imagine.
at that time. Yeah, and I was still like very very young, and but all things considered, I did the best I could. I enjoyed my time with him. I mean, yeah, I wish we would have made another album. We only made one album, but I mean,
Right.
I'm not complaining. I got to play on one of Ozzy's albums.
Right. That's it. That's
So
great.
yeah, and it was okay. It was a great time. It was a great time. I enjoyed it, and it opened up a lot of doors for me afterwards.
Right.
For for my name personally, have helped my band. So it definitely put me on the spotlight, worldwide level. Yeah,
It's always great to hear a story like that. When one of the guys that's an icon gives a guy a chance, and really gets to open up his music to the masses, because it's that puts you into some of the situations, not only Firewind, but you brought out some great solo albums too. I listened
thanks.
back to I Am the Fire and Brand New Revolution. I mean, I thought that was a great album. That was one that really stood out for me. And you're continuously working, which is cool because you got a lot of things going on at all times. And in a solo album, is that any different than when you go into Firewind? Is this something that you say, hey, you have the control, and is it more pressure to do something solo?
No, actually, it's the exact opposite. It's a lot less pressure making a solo record.
See, that's
Um,
cool.
because Firewind. I mean, I'm not saying that Firewind we have so much pressure, but it's a band that has existed for 20 years, and it's a band. Sure, it's an established band to a certain level, to a certain point, but it's also a pretty troubled band, with many lineup changes. So
Yeah.
we have lost fans along the way, but we have made a lot of fans on the way. So, uh, you know, making a Firewind album is like you have to kind of meet certain expectations, so to say. I don't know if that's the right word, but it
Right.
has to sound a specific way. You cannot deviate from it too much. It's not like we can start playing disco metal tomorrow. Like that's not us. So, you know what I mean? Like
That'd be a change
it's
there, man.
yeah. There you go. So it's not like or even something different. Like I don't think we could just all of a sudden make a symphonic metal album because we were never that band, or we cannot be like we cannot shock our fans too much.
Right.
So and of course 10 albums in, like we're making the 10th album now, so a lot more thought goes into what's gonna end up there. But ultimately, you overthink things, and then you just end up thinking, well, it just needs to have great songs. That's all that matters. The rest is
That's
secondary
right.
because if the music
Right.
is good enough, it'll work its way out. Now making a solo record is very different because that's where I have the opportunity to experiment a lot more. Not that I'm making experimental records because they're not really.
Right.
Um, I mean, I make hard rock metal albums, but I mean, as you just mentioned, the first two albums had a lot of different singers, a lot of collaborations.
Right.
Um, and then I went on to do like a power trio kind of album on the Fearless record. And then 2 years ago, I put out a full instrumental record, which I had never done before.
Right.
So, so with my solo project, I'm basically able to do whatever the hell I like. I mean, Firewind cannot really put out an instrumental record, full instrumental all of a sudden. That would be
Right.
weird.
Exactly.
So
It's
so yeah. So I think it's a different type of freedom being a solo artist. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that has to be nice to have that freedom. How about
Yeah.
the you know, I think you have a signature sound in your playing, and you know, you've had a like the ESP, you had the you know the whatever you say with them, but you also have the with Jackson right now, you got the the endorsement now and
Yeah,
playing
the signature guitars and all that. Yeah.
and with that with the style that you play and the guitars that you play. Tell us about how some of the endorsements happen. I mean, obviously, coming up through the years like that, but what's the difference between like playing a Jackson for you and playing the the ESPs when you had that as far as your sound, do you think?
I mean, look, the specs pretty much are the same for both guitars. If we're gonna compare brands, to me, they're both great manufacturers. I love the guitars ESP made, and I love the guitars that Jackson make are making for me. Um, I mean, the reason why I had to move from ESP was purely like a business decision. Like a lot of the
Right.
people that I was working with in the company, they left. So, it's sometimes that happens, when people move from company and the team sort of falls apart and you're not looked after and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I kind of like felt like it was, like my time was with ESP was coming to an end. But they were good to me for many many years, and they've made we created some great instruments. And the same is happening with Jackson. They have a really nice team, um, great manufacturing team, great master builders. I've been to their factories in California. So we're always like discussing ideas together when we are designing new guitars. So it really is a blessing for me to be able to work with some of the biggest companies in the world, and make
Right.
instruments and put my signature on there. It's incredible.
That's cool. That has to be amazing. It's great to see, you build this, piece, for the fans too. I mean, just to, hey, look, this guy, we watch him grow the whole way through. And it's good to see somebody like you getting that recognition, you know what I mean? Just to have that piece of it. And when you look back on what everything that you've done, whether it be the the Firewind project or the album with Ozzy and all these different projects, do you feel like you're in that comfort zone right now? Like you really feel like, hey, I'm really here. I feel good about what I'm doing, about how I write, and obviously your level of professionalism is definitely up here now, compared to like when you first started, growing. Is that where you're at right now? Do you feel like you're in that comfort zone, kind of?
Yeah, yeah, you can say that. Like it's I found my way artistically long time now, and I'm happy with like I create the stuff that I want to create. I have artistic freedom. Um, I have a record label that supports me. We have wonderful fans around the world. Um, so yeah, man, I'm really grateful for all these great things, and I mean, it really is that the fans are allowing us to keep doing what we do, because if nobody really gave a shit about what we do, there was then
Right,
there
that's
would be, you know,
it.
then there would be no point. I mean, I would still do it because that's I have to do it. You know, I have to play music. I don't know, but it's you know, having the support from the fans, of course, it affords me to make a living out of this and just be able to travel the world and see and play for everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And you're at the, like I said in the beginning, is I consider you one of the premier guitar players right now. I mean, I love the style and the things that you do. When you look back on, you know, everything that you've done and your I guess time in all these different bands and your, you know, your guitar playing, what kind of legacy do you feel that Gus G has right now? I mean, what do you want your legacy to be in looking back?
Oh
A tough question there.
yeah, I don't know, man. I think I mean, I of course I think somebody asked me that kind of question yesterday. I was doing also some interviews. Said, "How would you like to be remembered?" They said, like as a guitar player or as a composer. And I said, being remembered would be nice overall. I don't really care if I would be remembered as somebody who could shred or just somebody who could write a good riff too. I
Right.
don't just somebody. If you're remembered, it's obviously a nice thing. No, man. I mean, to me, if the work of the music, the music that we put out and leave behind, if that means something to some people, and if that makes some people happy and it helps them through life, because music is the soundtrack of our lives, whether we know it or not, because
Right.
we connect through specific songs to specific eras and memories of our lives. So if people can connect to that and it resonates and with people, and people like certain people are feeling connected to that somehow and have good memories, or it helps them, then I think we've done it right. Um,
That's right.
that's
Very
that's
well
all I
put.
yeah that's all I can yeah that's all I can think of. Yeah.
That's really cool. I know we only have a few minutes left, but what about some of the things that are coming up for you know, for Firewind and you? I mean, is there any you know, shows? I know you guys have some shows planned, but what's the 2023 and even into 2024 look like?
23 we have like a few festivals left. Like we got a couple in Germany and Switzerland, and then we're doing a couple of shows here in Greece. And now we're working on next year's tours. We're gonna go back out in Europe. We're talking about another American tour, so hopefully that'll come
Nice,
through. Yeah, because we want
nice.
to come back, man. Um, yeah, and I think before the year ends, I'm gonna go out and do a few solo dates, play a full instrumental set, some in certain pockets of Europe, and that's it. So it's been a busy year already. I was already touring for 4 months, so
Right.
now I'm kind of in the stage of I'm preparing the next steps for next year. Yeah.
So that's great to hear. I can't wait to see you guys back in the US. I'm looking forward to that. But still,
Where
Raging hits on.
where where are you at? What state?
I'm in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Okay, yeah, yeah, cool.
Yeah, so that's you know, like I said, I've been a fan for a long time, and I'm always looking forward to seeing you guys come through
Cool,
or
man.
have a date here. Um, I wish you the best of luck with this live album and the things that you have coming up. Your you know, any of the tour dates and you know everything that you're doing. And
Thank you.
in closing, Gus, I just want to say thank you for doing what you do, man. Because you know, you said it right there when you said it's a piece of our lives. It sets memories and you know, I look back at the first time I heard Firewind and you know and all your career going through and this live album, but you know, just really thanks for doing what you do because
Appreciate it,
it's
man.
such a big part, man. I really appreciate what you do and thanks for sitting down with me and my audience and taking this time, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you. It's a pleasure, man. Thanks to everybody for watching this. Thank you.
You got it. Thanks, Gus. Best of luck, man.
You too. Bye bye.